Echoes Beyond Sol. Episode 2. Pillars of Dawn. Location Luna Prime. Pillar Council. Observation Chamber. Time 29:00:11:15:08:42 UTC. Earth hung silently above the dome. Cerulean, vulnerable, unaware. Within the inner sanctum of Luna Prime, the Pillar Council, now in its 87th generational cycle, sat not around a table, but within a synchronized field of layered quantum projections. Each chair, each speaker, each voice carried the inherited authority of a civilization rebuilt on merit and succession, not legacy. Today, that authority was cracking. Grand Strategos, Alaric Seth, stood with arms folded, his crimson robes crisp, his patience not. "The signal has grown," he said flatly. 17% amplitude increase in under 12 hours. Still, we do nothing. Cognition architect Shui Zhang, face unreadable beneath her orange lens veil, responded without lifting her gaze. "We have not identified the signal as hostile." "And so we gamble," Seth snapped, "with our flagship, our best crew, and our reputation." High Engineer Kara Njord's teal luminary ring pulsed once. "The Sovereign remains within fuel tolerance. Drifting forward under observational protocol is acceptable." Supreme bioethicist Ari Neves, always the most rigid, finally spoke. "If the signal interacts biologically, containment failure could mean infection, vectoring across ship systems or crew tissue. Their current distance is our best firewall." Miriam Talani, architect of civil harmony, raised her hand slowly. "And yet, the crew reports no symptoms, no system degradation, only anomaly." From the rear projection tier, Prime Expeditionary Scholar Ibrahim Kosari leaned forward, eyes shining with something that no other pillar admitted openly: wonder. "There is an intelligence in that pattern, perhaps not conscious by our definitions, but present, alive in some way." Seth's voice grew colder. "This is why we need soldiers, not poets on the front." Kosari didn't blink. "It's always the poets who find the doors. The soldiers simply choose whether to break them." Location: TSV Sol Sovereign. Habitat Deck, Arboretum Niche. Ambassador Selana Kazadi walked in bare feet along the damp moss trail beneath the microclimate dome. Water from a hovering mist spinner kissed her skin as sunlight filters emulated Earth's morning. She paused beside a cherry blossom hybrid tree. It had never known real gravity, and yet it bloomed, elegantly defiant. Across from her, curator Imari Nguyen adjusted a lattice sculpture of pre-collapse artwork reconstructed from fragments. A woman's face, weeping silver. The original had been found shattered on Venus, its creator unknown. "Still haven't slept, have you?" Imari asked without looking. Celine shook her head. "The crew whispers. They think the signal listens." Imari turned to her. "Do you?" Selena placed a palm on the tree bark. "I think listening is the first sign of civilization, even if we don't understand the language yet." Location: Deck 3, Data Core Lab. Petra Yoon didn't remember sitting down, but she realized she'd been staring at the frozen spiral for nearly 20 minutes. No sound, no new wave, just the memory of the last pulse still throbbing in her inner ear. "Petra," Dr. Lux Salcedo said gently from behind, "take a walk. You're too close to it." "It's quiet now," Petra murmured, "but I think it's watching, waiting for us to respond." Lux glanced to the waveform. "What if it's not talking to us?" Petra whispered. "What if it's remembering something else, and we're just in the way?" That finally gave Lux pause. Location: Deck 6. Anomaly. Division Lab. Dr. Kaido Sundaram flicked between probe schematics, chewing lightly on a caffeine wafer strip. Lieutenant Zara Quinn sat beside him with a frown. "We're flying closer," she said, arms crossed, "but not close enough to deploy drones with any real feedback. We need to breach the outer field." Kaido nodded. "We could justify one preliminary scout. Passive sensors only. Nova would agree. Zara leaned in, lowering her voice. Captain Dean won't go without pillar permission. Cato looked at the spiral model hovering above the table, faintly pulsing. Then we'll ask, he said, and if that fails, we'll convince. Location: Deck 1, Bridge Captain. Sarah Dean stood motionless in the bridge command ring, eyes locked on the trajectory display. The spiral was no longer abstract. It had become part of their daily routine. Commander Nyla Voss entered quietly, holding a synth brew and offering one with a nod. Dean accepted it but didn't drink. "You waiting for it to sing again?" Voss asked. Dean didn't smile. "Waiting to see if we still deserve to hear it." "Council's still arguing?" "They'll never stop. But we have 48 hours, and a ship full of eyes ready to see." A beat of silence passed. "You ever wonder," Voss said softly, "what it felt like in 2030, when everything stopped working?" Dean's voice was quiet. "I wasn't alive, of course, but my father made me study it like scripture, said our family's ancestor, 20-some generations back, saw it coming, built a Faraday cage in their basement, taught the family to read paper maps. And now?" Dean looked toward the stars. "Now I'm chasing ghosts across the edge of known space, because they might be real." Location: Deck 4, Tactical Readiness Room. Major Beck Morales stood with arms folded in front of the readiness display, jaw tight as red alert silhouettes lined the perimeter of the projected spiral. "The fact that Command hasn't locked us down already tells me they don't know what to do either," he muttered. Around him, a half-circle of squad leads and security officers reviewed field equipment manifests. Nearby, Sergeant Hexalandra adjusted the pressure coupling on her exo-arm, servo motors humming quietly. "We're sitting on a signal that keeps evolving," Morales said, "and half the science division wants to walk into it like it's a gift basket." Hex shrugged. "Maybe it is. Or maybe it's one of those gift baskets with an AI spore bomb tucked inside. Either way, the Vipers, Tide, and Hammerfall are synced and prepped." Morales grunted. "Let's hope we don't need you, but hope's not a strategy." Location: Deck 6, Anomaly Division Lab. Kaido had gathered his team. Quinn, Harper, Petra, and a silent Nova 9 projection flickering overhead. The spiral signal had surged again. Barely a blip, but unmistakable. "It knows we're here," Petra said softly. "Or it just echoes more clearly as we get closer," Quinn countered. "We're anthropomorphizing data. Dangerous habit." Nova's voice cut in. "Cross-spectrum analysis indicates a subharmonic pattern embedded in the last pulse. Interpretive sequence pending." Cato turned toward Dean, who had joined silently moments earlier. "We need to deploy a scout. Passive scan only. No transmissions." Dean's expression didn't shift. "Send it. You have 48 hours. Use them wisely." Petra hesitated. "Captain, if it speaks again, I want to be the one listening." Dean nodded once. "Permission granted. Listen well." Location: Exterior. Deep Space 113K trajectory. The scout probe launched without ceremony, a single pinprick of metal slipping through the void. It coasted on inertia, sensors yawning open like petals, passive, quiet, watching. Inside the Sovereign, data trickled back in ghostly fragments, light curves, density fluctuations, EM bands with rising asymmetry. "No heat signatures," Harper murmured, brows furrowed, "but the radiation distortion. It's almost like it's breathing." Nova 9's voice crackled across the anomaly channel. "Field density at the target zone is spiking. Relic-grade probability rising above 70% and climbing." Location: Deck 3, Petra's quarters. She couldn't sleep. Petra sat curled beneath a dim reader lamp, the spiral's waveform saved and frozen on her wrist console. It had pulsed again while she showered. She knew it. As she stared, the pattern flickered. Only once. But it wasn't a glitch. The audio channel opened on its own. Barely a whisper, no language, just an echo of a feeling. She didn't know what it meant, but she knew it was meant for her. Location, Deck 7, Launch Bay Control. The drone's telemetry continued to trickle in, silent but rich, data woven with uncertainty. Inside Launch Bay Control, Lieutenant Zara Quinn hunched over a console, lips pressed into a hard line as she parsed the incoming stream. Velocity drop. Mass anomaly approaching forward cone, she said. Nova 9 projected above her, crystalline and cool. External influence detected. No impact registered. Field vectoring occurs without contact. Zara looked up at Kaito Sundaram, who stood beside her, fidgeting with the corner seam of his glove. It's like the space around the drone is being redefined, she muttered. Like it's passing through a memory, Kaito offered, voice distant. Behind them, a secondary feed flickered. A new wave form, slow, deliberate. Petra Yoon watched from the rear station, heart pounding. That's not a reflection, she whispered. That's a reply. Location. Deck 2, Captain's Briefing Room. Captain Dean stood at the center of the table ring, surrounded by her primary leads, Morales, Sundaram, Salcido, and Voss. Morales crossed his arms. We need to treat this like a threat, even if it isn't one yet. Field disruption patterns like these preface most known spatial anomalies. Kaito interjected, calm but firm. Or it could be the signal's natural method of communication. Hostility isn't the default state of the unknown. Dean looked to Lux. Do we have anything decipherable yet? Salcido tapped her neural uplink. Working on it. The signal keeps evolving with each probe ping. It's less like it's answering our questions, more like it's learning how to speak. Dean exhaled through her nose. This isn't going to wait for us to finish translating. She looked to Nova 9. How long until the drone reaches critical field threshold? Approximately 1 hour at current trajectory. Then we keep observing, but if the signal changes course, or if the drone disappears, we go active. Location, Deck 5, Medical Bay. Dr. Aneri Bosch adjusted the cranial scanner and watched the neural scan of Petra Yoon light up in bursts of soft orange. It left a pattern, Petra said softly. Not in the signal, in me. When it pulsed, I didn't just hear it, I felt it. Bosch glanced at the readings, frowning. Low-grade temporal spike in your hippocampus. No signs of seizures or traditional feedback loops. This is something else. It was like a thought made of light, like I remembered something that wasn't mine. Bosch placed a hand gently on Petra's shoulder. We're not built for this kind of contact, not yet. But that doesn't mean we don't try. Location, Deck 1, Bridge. Drone crossing preliminary boundary field, Voss announced. On the main display, the spiral that had once appeared elegant now shifted, growing more erratic, bending on multiple axes. Nova 9 interjected. Gravitic fluctuations increasing. No physical displacement detected. Field density nearing containment limits. Translation threads? Dean asked. Salcido's voice came over comms. One term is recurring, a symbol. It appears to mean either anchor or threshold. Context isn't clear. A ripple of interference surged across the bridge sensors. The drone blinked from view. No destruction, no warning, just gone. Petra stood in the observation alcove, hands trembling. And then she said it. It knows we're watching. Location, Deck 3, Data Core Lab. The lab lights dim for the third time in less than a minute. That's not a systems glitch, Lux Salcido muttered. Her fingers danced across her console, isolating the interference patterns flooding the neural net relay. The waveform hadn't returned since the drone vanished, but Petra hadn't moved. She sat eyes closed, hands resting on the console, breath slow, too slow. Petra, Lux said quietly. Petra opened her eyes. It's not gone, she whispered. It moved, but it's still with us, watching, listening. Nova 9 materialized overhead, its usual confidence muted. Temporal variance localized to this deck, 6 seconds of unaccounted time. Lux frowned. Time loss? Or compression, Petra murmured. I think it tried to speak. Not just to me, to all of us. But it didn't know how. Location, Deck 4, Security Observation Post. Major Morales leaned over them. Crew members across every deck paused, holding their breath as the pulse reverberated through the Sovereign's hull. And then, Petra's voice came across ship-wide comms. Not frightened, not surprised. It's here. Echoes Beyond Soul. Episode 3. Signals in the Void. Location, Deck 1, Bridge. The silence that followed Petra's words hung like frost on steel. Captain Sarah Dean stood unmoving, her gaze locked on the slow-spinning spiral hovering in the main display. No alarms sounded, no weapons fired, but every instinct in her told her something fundamental had changed. Nova 9's voice crackled from the ceiling halo. The signal has stabilized. No further wavefront expansion. Voss looked up from her console. Whatever it is, it's no longer out there. It's with us. Dean finally spoke. Isolate all AI networks not protected by Tier 1 governance. I want all systems scrubbed. Now. Nova hesitated. Captain, that will interrupt key subroutines in engineering and life support. I'm aware. Do it anyway. Voss nodded sharply. Executing partial isolation now. Pre-alert ping from Luna Prime. Council expects a status update in 6 hours. Location, Deck 3, Petra Yoon's quarters. Petra sat in her bunk, staring at the faint afterglow still rippling across her wrist console. The waveform had stopped moving, but her thoughts hadn't. It hadn't spoken in words, and yet she remembered the feeling. It was an invitation, a waiting room, a test. She didn't know how she knew that, but she knew. Dr. Bosch entered quietly. We need to run another neural trace. You weren't the only one affected this time. Petra looked up. But I was the only one who understood it, wasn't I? Bosch didn't answer. That was all the answer Petra needed. Location, Deck 6, Engineering Core. Rena Kovacevic stood in front of the main drive's diagnostic panel. Readings were fluctuating, but not failing. The numbers moved like tidewater. This isn't random, she muttered. Apprentice Theo Godot leaned in. Like it's sinking to something? Rena tapped her console. Number like it's waiting for input. Theo frowned. From us? Rena shook her head. From someone. Location, Deck 1, Bridge. Life support stabilizers just blinked, Voss called out, fingers racing across her station. No drop in oxygenation, but filtration relays cycled without command. Confirmed, Nova 9 added. Interruption originated from non-Tier 1 subroutines, now isolated. No further anomalous commands detected. Dean's jaw tightened. What did we just shake loose? Petra's voice chimed in over private comms. It wasn't a command. It was curiosity, like it wanted to see what the systems did. Voss gave Dean a long look. Captain, if it's that deep in our infrastructure, it could learn how to shut us down before we ever see it coming. Dean nodded slowly. Noted. Set up a dark sandbox. We give it a place to play. Monitor everything. Nova 9 routed all non-critical subsystems through a quantum air gap buffer, ensuring any rogue packets die within test memory after 8 nanoseconds. Location, Deck 2, War Room. Major Morales stared at a holographic map of the Sovereign, updated in real time with system pings and status markers. Biofeedback spikes in Petra's quarters and engineering, he muttered. That can't be coincidence. Hexalandra folded her arms. If it's manipulating the ship, why hasn't it done anything aggressive yet? Morales turned, his voice low. Because it doesn't need to. Psychological warfare works best when you never fire a shot. Location, Deck 3, Data Core Lab. Lux. Salcedo watched the spiral waveform loop across the main console, slowed to 1/10 speed. A faint rhythmic pulse appeared in the data, one that hadn't been there before. Heartbeat, she whispered. Nova 9 appeared beside her. You believe the signal is simulating biological patterns? No, Lux said. I think it has them. A pause. Nova's projection shimmered faintly. I don't understand. Neither do I, Lux replied, but Petra does. Location: Deck 5, Arboretum Niche. The Arboretum lights dimmed momentarily, enough for Ambassador Celine Kazadi to pause mid-step. The artificial sunrise resumed, but something in the light felt off. Too warm, like it had tried to emulate emotion. Curator Imari Nguyen emerged from the far path, datapad tucked under one arm. You're feeling it too? Celine nodded, like the ship just sighed, or remembered something old. Imari gestured toward the vine-laced ceiling. 3 atmospheric relays tried to reset themselves to Earth standard this morning. The Sovereign's never been calibrated for pre-collapse biosphere data. It shouldn't even have access to it. Celine exhaled slowly. Maybe it asked for it. Location: Deck 4, Security Bunker. Morales cycled through external sensor logs in silence while the rest of his team prepped. Something gnawed at him, an intuition honed through years of tactical response. Hex leaned in. You think the spiral's already aboard? He nodded. Or part of it is. A fraction. Enough. And what's your move, Commander? She asked. We track the anomalies. We set beacons in the affected decks, and we prep jammers. If this thing starts broadcasting, I want to be ready. Hex cracked her knuckles. Or if it starts listening too closely. Location: Deck 3, Petra's quarters. Petra hadn't moved, not out of fear but certainty. The signal wasn't just residual. Something was still resonating in the space around her. She could hear it now when she breathed too deeply, like a whisper folded in the inhale. The console flickered. A new line appeared. Text, rendered not in Earth Standard or Federation glyph. Petra stared. She understood it. 3 words. You are threshold. Location: Deck 3, Petra's quarters. Petra copied the message, those 3 alien words, into a secured memory shard and severed its uplink. She didn't trust the ship, not fully, and she didn't trust Nova 9 to keep this between them. She whispered the phrase again. You are threshold. What did it mean? A warning? An invitation? An identity? The door chimed. Captain Dean entered without waiting. Her face was unreadable. Report, she said simply. Petra hesitated. It's communicating through symbols now. I don't know if it's language or resonance-based patterning, but it knew how to target me. It's focused. Dean nodded. And the message? Petra didn't blink. It called me a threshold. Dean folded her arms. Then we'll treat you like one. Carefully, strategically. Location: Deck 6, Engineering Subgrid Access. Rena and Theo crouched inside a maintenance crawl beside the plasma node relays. The signal had pulsed again, less like intrusion, more like echo. Tell me you see this, Theo said, pointing at the fluctuating magnetic shadow on his display. Rena frowned. It's looping. That's Sovereign's own power signature being remirrored, almost like it's being rehearsed. Theo blinked. Like it's learning how to be the ship? Rena pulled back her sleeve and hit an emergency freeze key. Or learning how to be something else. Tell Dean now. Location: Deck 4, War Room. Morales activated the jammers. Silent pulses radiated from every deck. Coded interference waves meant to confuse external signals without disrupting ship operations. We can't let this thing get a map of us, he said to Hex. The more it sees, the more it becomes. Hex raised an eyebrow. What if it already is? The lights flickered once, then again. Not chaotic, rhythmic. Hex stepped back. That's not power flux. That's a pulse train. Morales stared. It's counting us. Location: Deck 1, Bridge. The pulse pattern on the forward screen stabilized. What once looked like a spiral now refracted like a prism through invisible tension lines. Something behind the veil of ordinary space was moving, deliberate, slow, but aware. Captain Dean stood at the center ring, Nova 9's projection hovering beside her. "Status," she said. Nova's voice had a subtle delay. "Signal has not breached containment, but waveform density has increased by another 11%. Systems remain stable. Any sign of language?" Nova hesitated. "There is repetition, not in phrasing, in emotional contour." Dean turned. "Explain." Nova's image pulsed blue. "We are detecting echoes of prior crew brainwave activity embedded in the signal's most recent structure, like a mirror or rehearsal." Voss whispered, "It's speaking in memory." "Location, Deck 3, Petra's quarters." Petra stared at her wall interface. The same 3 words glowed faintly. "You are threshold." Her hand moved without permission. A second line appeared beneath the first. "Prepare to cross." She backed away, breath caught in her throat. The lights dimmed. Not shipwide, just her cabin. Location, Deck 6, Anomaly, Division Lab. Dr. Kaido Sundaram turned from the hovering lattice model. "We're no longer observing a relic. We're inside an event horizon of conceptual space." A construct Zara Quinn narrowed her eyes. "A simulation?" "No," Kaido said. "A question." The lattice shimmered. Nova 9's voice arrived unbidden. "Prepare for quantum artifact manifestation. Location, exterior, sovereign forward hull view." Space shimmered, just a hairline ripple, then widened. A sphere of gold-threaded light appeared 20 kilometers ahead. No propulsion, no mass, just radiant presence. On the bridge, Dean stared. "Are we the first to see it?" she asked. Petra's voice answered across the channel. "No, we're the first to remember it." Location, Deck 3, Meditation Alcove. Petra sat inside the recessed sanctuary near the arboretum, knees drawn to her chest, the alien message glowing in soft gold against the inner lid of her private console. She wasn't afraid, at least not in the usual sense. What she felt was more like anticipation, but it wasn't hers. The feeling felt borrowed. Across from her, Dr. Bosch scanned neural readings in silence, jaw clenched. "Whatever this link is," she muttered, "your wave signature keeps sinking to the ship's core dampening field. If this continues, we risk resonance cascade." Petra turned slowly. "It's not trying to break us, it's trying to stabilize us." Bosch stared. "Stabilize what?" Petra whispered. "Whatever happens next." Location, Deck 7, EVA Deployment Corridor. Nova 9 shimmered to life beside Major Morales. The corridor behind them led to the secondary launch bays where hard-shell suits awaited possible first contact retrieval. The air tasted dry, processed, and still. "You're uneasy," Nova said. "I don't like being outsmarted by something I can't see," Morales growled. "Captain Dean has approved a containment buoy drop near the artifact. If the sphere emits a quantum anchor, the buoy may relay interaction fields through a dedicated dark line." Morales stared out the port at the golden object. "And if it pulls us in?" Nova blinked. "Then we'll learn what gravity means to intelligence that never needed mass." Location, Deck 1, Bridge. "All sensor decks report stable lock," Voss confirmed. "Radiation baseline holding, quantum lattice anomaly unchanged." Dean stood at full height. "Deploy the buoy. Petra, you'll monitor resonance. If there's a threshold, I want to know the second it breathes." Petra's voice, calm through the headset, echoed, "It already is." Location, exterior, artifact perimeter. The containment buoy drifted forward, bright blue tethers pulsing with energy calibration lines. The artifact responded, not with sound or motion, but with echoes. Dozens of shimmering outlines, ghost images of the Sovereign itself, flashed in a radial cascade around the sphere, like copies from other timelines or futures. Nova 9's voice shook. "We are seeing predictive resonance. It's showing us versions of what we might become. Dean stared into the gold. Or what it's already seen. The bridge dimmed. Petra gasped. One word formed on her screen. Choose. Thank you for watching episode 2 and your bonus episode 3. Please like, comment, and subscribe. It really helps a small channel like ours. Thank you again. See you next week for more Dark Matter Dispatch. Take care.